Today I will not be instructing you as usual. We have a very important guest who will be demonstrating the advanced techniques of Taekwondo. I expect that you show great discipline and respect, as this man is both my master and the father of modern Taekwondo. His efforts single-handedly made Taekwondo what it is today and taught me everything I know about it. Students, without further ado, please welcome the founder of this art, the unstoppable force that globalized Taekwondo, Grandmaster Chow Hong-ki. Listen to his insight and learn from it, and show the self-control I have taught you.
Attention! Cheer up, Hong-ki. 감사합니다. Students, I'm here today to explain to you about my life and to demonstrate some of the fundamental techniques of Taekwondo. I will discuss with you the origins and history of the art you practice. Taekwondo promotes not only physical fitness, but mental awareness and principles such as self-control, confidence, respect, and discipline. In my philosophy, the most important objectives of Taekwondo are based upon justice, humanity, and charity, which strengthen us. With this strength, we can stop the poor from being preyed upon by the rich, and the weak from being preyed upon by the strong, and therefore build a peaceful society. That is our #1 priority. As the founder of the art of Taekwondo, it's my intention to bring together beauty, strength, and spirit. Every human being is going to die, and hence dying can be distressing. But we can overcome this tragedy and our fear of death by simply learning to expand our mental capacity for life. We can do so by learning to display a sense of strength and justice, which can be achieved through the scientific techniques of Taekwondo. This is the way to an eternal life. This is my way. I was born on November 9th in 1918 in the rugged, harsh area of Hwaydae in the Myeongchun district of North Korea. It was a time of great oppression for the Korean people, as the Japanese occupied the Korean peninsula and suppressed much of our culture, including that of the history of our martial arts. At the age of 12, I showed my resilient and independent spirit by being expelled from school for agitation against the Japanese authorities. I led a patriotic student walkout in protest of a particular incident, one that happened in Korea, called the Gwangju incident, when a group of female Korean students were harassed by some Japanese men, who were in turn confronted by the Korean girls' male counterparts. The Korean students were beaten brutally by the Japanese forces, and it sparked student protests all over Korea. There were many, and I was the leader of only one. As a result of my expulsion, my father sent me to study calligraphy under the most famous calligrapher in Korea, Mr. Han Il-dong. I studied with Mr. Han for 7 years, and in addition to his skills as a calligrapher, he was a master of the ancient Korean art of foot fighting, called Taekyong. Concerned with the frail condition of my body, as I was sickly and frail as a child, he began teaching me the rigorous exercises of this art to help build up my body. I studied with him for 7 years and obtained my black belt. And in 1937, at the age of 19, I traveled to Kyoto, Japan, to further my education and study the Western modern ideas of science and law with some friends. However, unfortunately, shortly before leaving, I engaged in a fit of youthful wisdom and gambled away all the money I had saved up for the trip in a game of cards to a local shark named Mr. Her. Mr. Her was a massive professional wrestler and involved with the local gangs, and when I pleaded for my money back, he would not give it to me. But it was essential that I had this money for my future. I didn't know what I would do without it. So I struck him, knocking him unconscious, and regaining my money. However, this gave the local gangsters a reason to make me a marked man, and it gave me a new inspiration to learn the martial arts. So, as Mr. Her promised to tear me limb from limb upon my eventual return to Korea. With this in mind, I left for Kyoto. And when I got there, one of my friends introduced me to a master of the art of Shotokan karate, Mr. Him. I studied with Mr. Him for 2 years while studying in Kyoto. And after 2 years of intensified training, I obtained my black belt in the art of karate. I continued my training in the art when I moved to Tokyo to attend the university. And under the supervision of Master Funakashi, I attained my second degree black belt in Shotokan karate. However, at this point, my life took a dramatic turn. In 1943, Japan was desperate for troops with the outbreak of World War II, and I myself, along with many other Korean students who were studying in Japan at the time, was forced into the military of Japan through no violation of my own. We were sent to basic training in Seoul, South Korea, and while there, myself and a group of 30 other students like myself went and tried to join the Korean Liberation Army. However, we were caught by Japanese forces and imprisoned. At first, I was supposed to be imprisoned for 7 years, but this sentence soon after was changed to the death penalty, due to be carried out August 18th, 1945. While in prison, to alleviate boredom and stay physically fit, I practiced my art, and eventually, my cellmates and even my jailers and guards became students of mine. Prison turned into one gymnasium where I taught all the students, where all the jailers, guards, and prisoners became my students. And I was forced to accept death, to come to terms with it, and I thought I would be dead on August 18th. 3 days before my scheduled execution, the Korean liberation set me free, and my confrontation of death has greatly inspired my philosophy of Taekwondo. In 1945, when we were freed, I went to Seoul and organized a student soldiers party called the 110 Founding Fathers. We trained in the art of karate, and I taught the men the art, but we found it quite distasteful to be learning an art with the Japanese label because of our rather negative experience with the Japanese nation that we had just endured. So this is when I started to take the fundamental techniques of Taekyon and Shotokan karate and combine them into my own art, which at the time we called Tang Soo. In 1950, I became involved with the Korean War, and in 1953, I organized the crack 29th Infantry Division on Jeju Island in South Korea. We became known as the EQ, the Fist Division. I taught my men my art, and in 1954 we arranged for a demonstration to the President of Korea, Mr. Sung Man-ri. The President was so impressed with our skills that when the presentation was over, he immediately arranged for Tang Soo-do to be made a mandatory part of all military training in Korea. So, in order to satisfy his request, we had a gymnasium built on Jeju Island called the Odo Kwan, the Gym of My Way, where I taught my art to many masters and instructors of the military. I taught to many military personnel and to many generals, commanders, and anyone that would be teaching fighting styles to the military. In 1959, I went with 19 of my top black belt holders to spread Taekwondo beyond its national boundaries. We toured the Far East, impressing many officials in the Republic of China,